Hey everyone, welcome to today's video where we're gonna look at NIO stock. We are getting close to the end of the month and also end of the quarter. We can see that last week NIO delivered 5,170 cars. Actually, these are the insurance registration numbers in China. And the week before they had around 4,700. This is substantially lower than the competitors the likes of Li Auto and Xpeng that are at the very least averaging around 6,000 to 7,000 and usually are well above even 7,000. Li Auto are always close to 8 to 9,000 a month. Then you have Tesla. Is quite difficult to predict Tesla because they have some good sections. For example, if you look at week 9 through week 13, they had really strong deliveries. Then they had a really bad delivery segment there from week 14 through week, I don't know, let's say week 20, and then they starting to go up yet again. If you look at the comparative numbers of NIO combined with Xpeng compared to Tesla, just to see how Tesla is keeping up with the newer, smaller Chinese car manufacturers, you can see that most of the year NIO and Xpeng in white are outperforming Tesla, although the Tesla peaks are higher than NIO and Xpeng combined. But on average, NIO and Xpeng are currently outselling Tesla in China. In fact, if you look at the numbers currently, their NIO and Xpeng currently sitting at around 280,000. Tesla is at 246. And I would see this delta between these two companies and Tesla increase even more so by end of the year, and also obviously if you look at 2026 and onwards. Specifically when it comes to NIO, there are some goods and some bads. Starting with the good stuff, you can see that Onvo currently on row 5, they've been averaging from, let's say, 1,200 to 1,500, sometimes close to 1,600 deliveries on a weekly run rate. I'll actually say that is a good number for Onvo, since they're only doing currently one single car. We also know that the Onvo L90 is going on sale very soon. We should see it in the market within few weeks. So I would expect that Onvo is actually gonna, with the L90, push around 2,000 deliveries a week, potentially getting to 2,500 a week, which is 10,000 delivery on Onvo only each month. That would be really nice for NIO. On the negative side, I would say that if you go to 2024, so last year's weekly insurance numbers, right? Let's look at NIO. And remember, Onvo started deliveries by, late summer. Let's look at when the first numbers of Onvo came online. And we can see that Onvo delivery started somewhere in, end of September and early October, right? But before that, NIO was essentially having quite a lot of weeks that were at the very minimum 3,300. But you can see here that they were averaging like 5,400, 4,600, even 6,000. And at times, this week they had like what? Week 24 of last year. No, sorry, week 39 of last year. They had 6,350 NIO deliveries. Again, the classical NIO deliveries. The more expensive cars compared to Onvo and Firefly. Whereas this year, right now over the past month, they're on a kind of downward spiral for the classical NIO deliveries. Below 4,000 mostly. They're never close to 6,000. They had one single week in week 17 in early April at 6,500. And over the, let's say, past two months now, they're closer to 3,500 to 4,000 on average. These last 3 weeks or 4 weeks, they've been actually closer to 3,000. So yeah, that is not great for NIO, because the NIO Classic, they have a higher sales price. Obviously, you have higher margin on those than Onvo, and definitely higher margin on those than Firefly. So I would not say that this is a great position for NIO. Some of you might say, but why do you compare to Xpeng? Sure, Xpeng is a different, it's not apples to apples, there's on average cheaper car. But let's not forget that Xpeng still outsells NIO substantially. If you look at the year-to-date Chinese insurance numbers for Xpeng, or actually let's forget the insurance numbers, let's go to the actual, the actual monthly deliveries. You can see that year-to-date from January to May, NIO has delivered until May 89,000 cars. Let's say 90,000 cars. Xpeng has delivered 162,000 cars. Close to double of what NIO has delivered. So I'd say that, Xpeng is definitely doing something better than NIO there. Lithium carbonate price, again, for all of you that have been following this channel, we look at it every week. We can see that we are still in the lows, although we're now back above 60,000, but still way too low to be, on the negative for all of these manufacturers. Actually, this is really good for NIO and Xpeng and Tesla. Let's have a quick look actually on stock price. It's been a while since we look at that, and not a great day for our companies that we are following. Tesla is down. I think the Tesla full self-driving is starting to show its weakness, in my opinion. I believe the market is finally understanding that what Tesla promised a couple of weeks ago or last week was not what actually was promised. We're not gonna see anytime soon Tesla full self-driving. In fact, in that scenario, I believe that NIO and XPeng and a lot of other companies, even the legacy automakers like Mercedes and BMW, they rely on multiple modes. I mean, they don't look only on cameras, they look at radars and they look at lidars. I mean, think about it. When it comes to companies like Mercedes, BMW, NIO, when they rely on lidar, radar, ultrasonic sensors and cameras, you get so much redundancy. It's a more, let's say, difficult package to master, of course. I mean, sometimes you might get a signal from one of the sensors, for example, from the visual sensors of camera, and then the radar might say something slightly different. How do you interpret that? So I understand that there are areas where visual confirmation is better, but what would you do in a situation where the visibility visually is not there? And also, I don't think any of you have thought about this, but at least not most of you. In a pure engineering point of view, radar at times can actually see what's happening in front of the vehicle in front of you. Visually, you cannot see it, like the camera cannot see it, the lidar cannot see it, but the radar sensor can actually, in a lot of cases, see, for example, a pedestrian ahead of the bumper of the car ahead of you that you visually won't be able to see, even ahead of a truck, for example. So these are the advantages of the other sensors there, and I say that for me, unless I'm completely lost here, which I don't think so, I say that I'd much rather believe that NIO and XPeng will be ahead of Tesla due to the simple fact that Tesla is trying to do everything with visual cameras, and I simply don't buy it currently. I would never trust a Tesla full self-driving ahead of NIO on a rainy day. And actually, I've seen videos on YouTube where in the most difficult scenarios, for example, in heavy rain and, when a pedestrian is coming ahead of the car in front of you, blocking the view from the camera, I mean, the Tesla is just not utterly failed in that scenario. This is a very, very good example of the limitations of Tesla's full self-driving. So I actually think Tesla is super overvalued currently. Unless they value the company for example, robotics, that's another case. But in terms of NIO and XPeng compared to Tesla, I think those companies are much better value. But again, currently, I have to be honest, I think XPeng is the best value here. NIO, there's too much uncertainty. I understand that the monthly delivery numbers might not look that bad. So here you can see that I was expecting June numbers to be at around 25,000. I was hoping for a couple of thousand increasing compared to May and April. But currently we know that the June numbers, I would say, are sitting a little bit too low for me to hoping to realistically have a good hope of NIO reaching 25,000 in let's say in June. So in fact, if you look at the currently June to date on 22nd, the numbers that got released last Tuesday, they are at 15,080 or so. We get the new numbers of this last full week of June tomorrow morning, even if they beat the average of the past, 10 weeks. Let's say that NIO arrives at 7,000 deliveries numbers tomorrow, right? We're gonna be at 22,000. Then there's one working day. If they deliver another 1,500, they're gonna be at 2350 maybe, so comparable to May. So I would say 25,000 is a stretch. I would give it 5 to 10% chance. Is it possible, doable? I would say barely, but I wouldn't, bet on it currently for NIO to deliver 10,000 cars in the remaining 6 working days of the month. I wouldn't say so. That leaves us currently, if you look at what I would mean for example, in terms of Q2 delivery numbers, right? So if you assume that NIO delivers 25,000 cars in June, then they will deliver 72,000 cars, which is at the very, very bottom of the guidance which they gave in the first quarter report. So I would say that is potentially a case where NIO won't be able to get 72,000, because again, I assumed a delivery number of 25,000 in order to reach 72. But now, most realistically, I would say 71 or maybe 70 to 71 is more realistic currently, in my opinion. not a big deal. I mean, a couple of thousands is not, you know, let's not pretend that it's very important in the grander scheme of things. But yeah, just for you to be understanding that things are not going in the direction that we want. And again, don't just look at the delivery numbers. I understand that 72,000 is not the worst, even 70,000, right? I mean, Q4 of 2024, they delivered 72,000, which is the record. And then the second best one was in Q3 of that year, last year, 61,000 cars. But the problem here is that those numbers were mostly traditional neo-classic cars with higher sales price. Now, when we look at the 70,000 currently, a lot of those cars will be Onvo, and a few of those also will be Firefly with even lower sales price and basically non-existent margin, right? So I would say it's actually let's be honest, it's a regression, right? I mean, at this time of the year, all of us, I mean, again, let's not pretend that the expectations for NIO for the summer of 2025 already at the beginning of 2025 was probably at the bare minimum 30,000 for even the most like conservative bull on NIO, right? And currently we're barely better than last year, right? I mean, they started to hit the 20,000 threshold in May of last year, and they held that level all the way through the end of the year, especially for from May through November. Obviously, December was really, really good at 31,000 all-time high. But again, we are just above that with 3 different brands and 15 different models, right? So this is not, let's not, you know, pretend that everything is great, right? And this is yet again one of those situations where you have bulls on. I mean, look at this. I mean, this gentleman can have his point of view, and all of us, most of us, has been wrong on NIO obviously for the past 5 years. Let's be frank about it, even including myself. Otherwise, I wouldn't have lost like multiple years of salary on NIO, right? So I'm just letting you know that I myself lost a huge amount of money on NIO. But at the end of the day, do you think NIO will be $50 anytime soon? Even if they become profitable by Q4 for a single quarter, right? I don't think so. I think like there's so much uncertainty here, and knowing that the market never trusts this management in a long time now. I mean, the NIO management has a lot of goodwill to catch up before the market trusts this management. I don't think like these spots are helpful. I think they are just like pie in the sky. I mean, would I like NIO to go to 50? Heck, I would like NIO to go to 500. I mean, why not 5 trillion per share, right? But is it realistic based off the numbers? Absolutely not. And let's not pretend that everything goes against NIO. I mean, the lithium carbonate price has been trending down. So where are the fruits now, you know? Please, the management, show your hands, like, you know. And finally, let's have a look at the NIO swap info handle on Twitter. We can see that they're now back to 90,000 or 91,000 on average on the last 30 days. Swaps per day, that's good. But they're still, you know, averaging 30 swaps per station per day, which is, again, not good enough simply. I mean, the Gen 4 swap stations are handling about 400 swaps a day. They're doing 30 a day. So yeah, it is what it is, like. And they are still continuing to build up more stations, sadly. I don't know why. I mean, I don't know who they are building these swap stations for. And hopefully in Q2 earnings, they're also gonna talk about the so-called 440,000 delivery expectations for this year. And at this stage, I mean, there's absolutely no way we can get there. Like, even the most bullish of the bulls won't expect that NIO is gonna do 440,000 deliveries. Currently, I'm expecting 346,000, and this is quite bullish from now on. Again, we are barely reaching probably 25,000 in June. I'm expecting, like, I mean, this is so unrealistic to go from 25,000 in June to 37 in July. But if we keep those numbers at this kind of pace, 37 in July, 37 in August, 37 in September, 38 in October, November, and then December finishing off with 45, even in that, like, utter like insane increase in monthly deliveries, they still reach 346,000, not 440. So they would still be 100,000 or so off their own targets. And this is, again, manage the expectations. And sadly, the only thing this management cannot do is actually managing the company. I'm sorry to say that, but this is the reality. I'm not saying NIO is doomed, but they are doing everything they possibly can to make the shareholders to feel the pain and potentially at some point in the future become irrelevant. I mean, this is this year, right? What happens next year? if Xpeng continues executing at this kind of rate, Xpeng and Li Auto will average 10,000 deliveries every week next year, or very soon, right? NIO won't be able to do that with the current, with the information at hand right now. There's absolutely no way for NIO to deliver 10,000 cars monthly. Let's wait and see. Everything is possible, but they have a lot of catch up to do. But in any case, this was just maybe a little bit longer update on NIO stock. Please like and comment in the comment section your point of view. I understand that some of you are frustrated with the continuous bashing of NIO. I've raised a few good positives. The Onvo deliveries are finally starting to look solidly at 1500 or so. With the second Onvo model coming on, L90, I expect it to reach maybe 2000 or potentially 2500. So that's really good. But then let's not forget that they're eating away, they're cannibalizing the classical NIO deliveries that last year was already at getting close to 5,000 to 6,000. And now it's essentially they lost 2,000 from classical NIO deliveries and potentially gaining 2,000 from Onvo, which is lesser sales price, potentially or most likely lesser margin. So yeah, I don't know what to say. This is just how it is. In any case, thanks for your time and see you in the next one.